So a common question that people often have when talking about faith and spirituality is to ask, well, aren't all religions essentially the same? Now, don't they all lead to God in one way or another? Now, how can Christians possibly claim to have a monopoly on the truth? And I think those are good questions, aren't they? They're ones that are worth exploring. And I think in response there are two things that I would say. Firstly, it's important to realise that actually not all religions are the same. There's definitely similarities between all of the major religions. In terms of their moral systems, they definitely have a lot in common. But religion is about more than just ethics and morality, isn't it? Every religion in the world makes certain truth claims. And if we look at these truth claims, we'll quickly see that they simply aren't compatible with one another. Now, for example, Christians believe that Jesus is God, whereas Jews and Muslims believe that he's just a prophet, just a good moral teacher. Or another example, Hindus believe in many different gods, an entire pantheon of supernatural beings, whereas Christianity teaches that there is only one. And these aren't minor differences, are they? These are some of the central teachings of the religions. And the fact is, if one is true, then the others, logically speaking, must be wrong. But that leads us then on to the second issue. We might say, well, okay, but how can we possibly know which religions, if any, are right? Isn't it all just a stab in the dark? And I think this is a pretty common view. And it's one that is brilliantly summed up by an old Indian parable called The Blind Men and the Elephant. And it goes like this. Imagine that there are a bunch of blind men walking around the jungle when they come across an elephant. And none of them have any idea what an elephant is. And so they start to explore this strange, unfamiliar creature. One of them touches the elephant's leg, and he says, "I've got it. Elephants are big and they're round. They're like a tree." And another one touches the elephant's trunk, and he says, "No, elephants are long and wriggly. They're like a snake." And another still touches the elephant's side, and he says, "You're both wrong. Elephants are flat and smooth, like a wall." And the point of the story is that they're all touching the elephant. They're all trying to guess what it's like. But they all have different points of view. And none of them have the full picture. And that, so the story goes, is what religion is like. And at first, that seems like a pretty good explanation, doesn't it? It seems to make a lot of sense. But actually, there's just one problem with that story. That the elephant remains silent the whole time. He doesn't speak, does he? But actually, that's not the case with God. God is not silent. He has spoken to us. He's told us and shown us exactly what he's like, so that we don't have to be making up our own guesses. And whereas most religions are based on the teachings of men, people like Muhammad or Buddha, there is one that's different, and that is Christianity. After all, Jesus said quite clearly that he isn't just a man, but he is God. He was God come to earth to reveal what he is like. And then to back up that pretty outlandish claim, he performed amazing miracles. He stilled a storm, he walked on water, he rose people from the dead. He even predicted his own death, but promised that 3 days later he would rise again. And he did. Everything he said was spot on. And so in Christ, we have the answers. We no longer need to fumble around in the dark, making our best guess, or relying on philosophers or religious teachers to make their best guesses. because God himself has spoken. So I encourage you, don't try to figure out what God is like by guessing or making it up. But if you've never done so, why not take a look at Jesus? Go and read the eyewitness historical accounts about him and see the things that he said and did. And take a moment to hear actually what God himself has to say on the issue. Take a moment to listen to what God himself says about God, because that is where we'll find the answers.